Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to Aspire 32, and this is your host, Dr. Suresh Shenvi. Today, we have a prestigious invitee for this event, that is Dr. Abhishek Nagraj. And he is the guy whom you should approach if you want to learn about 3D printing, especially in dentistry, because he has worked a lot in the field of 3D printing after his post graduation. Let me introduce Dr. Abhishek Nagraj to this podcast and to his achievements. He finished his BDS from Bapuji Dental College, MDS from College of Dental Sciences, Davangere, the same college where I finished my post graduation, and then he finished fellowship in palliative medicine in Kidwai from Bangalore, which is a very great achievement. And he has 15 patents. That is the biggest asset, which I think which is very difficult for all of us. And I welcome Dr. Abhishek to this podcast.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you for the invitation. I would like to tell you that I'm one of your subscribers and
Thank
a
you.
great follower
Thank you so
since a
much.
long time. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
So,
Dr. Abhishek.
yes, thank you very much for inviting me here.
I want to tell my viewers why I thought of making this podcast with Dr. Nagraj is because he sent me this amazing 3D printed device which acts as an intraoral and extraoral suction together. And this is completely 3D printed, excellent finish, and it is biodegradable as it is mentioned in the box. And this is really amazing. Nobody can make it out that something 3D can make such a amazing product. And that is what I thought, that when we read about 3D printing, we struggle so much in understanding it. And if you have such an amazing guy in our surrounding who is doing it, so why not do a podcast on it? So, my first question, Dr. Abhishek, in this podcast to you is that why did you think of doing or going into this field of 3D printing?
So, 3D printing, as you all know, it is a way of making prototypes. It is not just in dentistry, it has applications in multiple fields. That includes aerospace, that includes food packaging, that includes textiles, that includes manufacturing of motors or machines, everything. So even when you don't have a particular spare part, even Indian Navy has ordered a new spare part, which is 3D printed actually, because it was very hard to procure that material, that particular spare part from the foreign agency which was actually producing it before. So in every field for prototyping, 3D printing has been used for a long time now, almost 5 to 10 years. So when we started inventing stuff, our inventions, they needed prototypes for testing. And this is the first prototype which we made. This is not 3D printed, this is actually vacuum casted. And this particular piece, it was used for cancer patients, and we could get it for almost like 6,000 rupees one piece. When we started with the second project, that is D-cleft, this is for cleft patients. Now, cleft patients required this kind of an attachment. We made this attachment for bottle like this. So the cleft patient can keep it in the mouth, and this will cover the cleft area of the patient while the patient is feeding. Now, this is when we thought, why spend so much on the material and the cost of making prototype and giving it to others? Rather, we'll protect our intellectual property by bringing a 3D printer ourselves. And we made this thing in 3D printing. It was made by 3D printing. So first, I tried it in lost wax technique, as we all do dentures. And once the shape and everything was confirmed, then we made it in digital platform, and then we made a 3D printed one. And this cost is way cheaper, like 500 or 600 rupees per piece, compared to what we had paid for the cancer spoon.
So, what you are basically saying is that making a prototype is very expensive, and you have tried a better way to do that,
We
right?
have, yes, we have tried a better way, and now we have adapted it in many things, not just in prototype, but in finished product.
Great, great. And I think that is what the inventor does, and you have been in that path. And I'm really happy that you are sharing the information. When somebody says about 3D printing, there are a lot of imaginary things, and there are so many videos, and people really don't get the exact idea. So what is it so complicated that 3D printing is really difficult? Can you simplify it in a very simple way for all of us?
I will try as much as possible.
Okay.
Okay, so let me share a video with you. You see the video. In this, the machine is actually building a product layer by layer. If you can see, it's going up in Z direction as well as X and Y dimensions. That way, it is basically called 3D printing, that is three dimensional printing. So, this example is basically where we have a filament which is coming from this direction, and there is an extruder here. Extruder in the sense it is something which melts the filament. Plastic filament is melted, and then it is deposited layer by layer on the product or whatever is being printed on the print bed. Now, when it keeps printing layer by layer, every layer has to adhere to each other. And finally, what we get is a 3D printed product, like a 3D printed material. If you want to do in this kind of 3D printing, it is FDM 3D printing. Then there is this laser type of 3D printing. If you can see, the laser is moving in this. You can see laser is moving in the resin. So this kind of 3D printing is SLA printing. So these are the two usual types of 3D printing we have.
This looks very similar to CAD CAM devices. What is the difference between this and the CAD CAM device?
See, this is the first layer which was printed on the printing bed. And slowly, one after other, we are going on adding layers on this particular design. You can see this, right? So what happens here is we are adding layers. So it is called additive manufacturing. This is the basic difference between CAD CAM. When we say CAD CAM, it is milling, obviously, and 3D printing. Okay, so 3D printing is an additive type of manufacture. Why it is beneficial compared to CAD CAM? Because if you see here, the orange layers, these are basically hollow inside. You can see that it is hollow. And in a CAD CAM material, what happens? That block or the disc, like a wax block, it is solid from inside. So the weight of that material is more. You're losing too much material when you're removing parts which goes out as flash or as residue, and you're losing the material. Your weight of the prosthesis or whatever product you make will be higher. At the same time, when you make it in CAD CAM, it is for a definitive prosthesis. When you make it in 3D printing, it is for a temporary or like a weak kind of a process. So 3D printing actually started a long time back when they were using surgical stents for implantology. That was the initial time when 3D printing started happening by the method of SLA, stereolithography. It was a costly affair basically. The machines were too big. There was a lot of failure. There was a lot of tinkering involved in getting the right kind of fit of the surgical stent. So it was basically imported. And when you import something, the cost is too high. You're importing the finished product. You're not importing the machines, you're importing the finished product. So when you're waiting for them to make the product and finish it and send it to you, you're waiting also, and you're spending too high price also. So when people did the full mouth kind of implantology, that's when they used to order these kind of things. Or when they have a risk of, probably they want to know, reduce the risk of failure. Like when you're doing an implant without any surgical stent, it's almost like you're at 50% risk of not knowing what lies inside when you're incising the gingiva and going into the bone. Even though you have CBCT, it is not accurate all the time. Even unless you have a surgical stent, it is very difficult to know which angulation to go, how to do it. So that is why when they did such high-end kind of cases, they used to order these 3D printed surgical stents. Now,
So you are saying that
this
surgical.
is when it started. This is how it started.
Okay.
Okay, why it has still not come into the into
Mainstream.
the mass practice,
Yes.
if you can call it. Why it has still not come there is because it is still in that phase of adaptation. There are many labs now in India also which are making 3D printed products, but again the products are of high cost. So unless it is actually indicated or unless you want to do it through this method, people are not doing it. Like intraoral scanners. You don't have intraoral scanners in every prosto clinic, whatever the clinic's budget may be. Only people, when they start using intraoral scanners, they need to generate a cast out of the scan. How they will generate the cast out of scan? By 3D printing. There is no other method. It cannot be reproduced in any other way other than 3D printing or CAD CAM. Now, CAD CAM is too costly to make a model, so 3D printing will come in that place. So, when you're doing crown and bridge from this kind of intraoral scanner, you need a cast to check this, the fitting of the crown and bridge. At that time, 3D printing comes in play. And recently, what they are doing is they are doing 3D printing of resin, which can be waxed out. It's kind of like lost wax technique,
So you are making a pattern like of a thing from a resin material on 3D printing, and
which
then you
can be
invest
burnt
it.
out. Yeah, which can be burnt out after investing.
Okay.
So when you are taking intraoral scan for an RPD patient, before what you used to do is you used to sit and put all types of different
Yes.
different patterns of class of the minor connector, major connector on the
Yeah.
model, and then
Lot of
invest
work.
that.
Yes.
And then invest that, and then you used to make a pattern, metal pattern out of it, cast metal pattern, and
Yes.
then you used to sit and trim everything, and then
Yeah.
make a final pattern,
That's why
right?
that's why many people hate a prosthodontic work because there is so much
Exactly.
work involved in it.
So now you see these two are two pieces. This is a cast which was made from intraoral scanner, and
Okay.
this is a, let us say, framework which has to fit on the intraoral scanner. So I can just fit it. I have just removed it from the machine, and I can just fit it like this. There is not much, what do you say, trimming involved. This is the bed from which it was printed. This is the bed. So the fitting area is outside. It is not on towards the bed. So
So
there is no
are you
trimming involved.
saying that these two things what you have made, there is no physical impression, nothing, it is all digital?
This is full digital. I can show you the digital files actually for
Okay.
these. So this was a patient for implant, if you see these two, and
Yes.
they have made a surgical stent for this patient. So what I'm trying to say is, when you take intraoral scanner impressions, you need something to check the
Yes.
impression, how good it is. When you have made a product, you have to check it. And unless you have something like this
Hmm.
available to you readily, you will not do it. And it becomes a matter of chance. Like when you don't use surgical stent, your implant may go anywhere.
Yes.
Similarly, it becomes a matter of chance when you are putting a removable partial denture which has been made from directly without any verification. But
Hmm.
because of 3D printing, what we do is we use resin. We make that cast partial denture, the resin denture. We make a resin denture in 3D printing, and
Okay.
we fix it in the patient. We fix it in
Hmm.
the patient and we check how good it is. Once we check
Okay.
that, then only we make investment for the metal and we cast it in metal. So
Hmm.
that way, what happens? You've already verified. It's like verification jig again. And again, some 3D printed materials come with metal infused in the resin itself.
Oh.
So during burnout, the metal comes to, what do you say, deposits layer after layer in the burnout phase itself, and it goes to sintering, and you get a direct product out of it.
So I have one silly question here. We all hate that porosity chapter from dental materials, which I feel that we tend to hear often because during casting that thing happens. Are you saying that in this method you can eliminate that, or there is chance of porosity here also?
Why porosity occurs? That is the question. Why porosity occurs is because wax is not generally hydrophilic. You put spray, you do whatever you want, but wax is not generally hydrophilic. And the procedure of investment has multiple uh, places where you can go bad. That is why casting defects like porosity appears. Yes. So when you're doing 3D printing of wax pattern, 3D printing of resin pattern, and you burn it out, you're eliminating only that part where the wax may not be hydrophilic and the resin pattern may be hydrophilic. But there are still multiple steps which may lead to porosity. But if you are going to make the metal infused resin or metal infused 3D printer from beginning itself, then what happens is during burnout or during the further steps of post processing after 3D printing, you're just eliminating the resin. The metal is still going to be there and deposit one over the other. So the porosity may not appear in that case at all. So you're eliminating depending on the step you are doing.
So when you are saying it, it appears to be very simple, but I don't think it is so simple to do it. How much effort is required? So you showed us that digital design. Is it the computer which is designing it, or it is you need someone who has expertise to design that framework so that then the printer can print it?
Actually, initially, what used to happen is either a prosthodontist or a lab technician used to do all these things. Nowadays, everybody wants to learn digital. Everybody has some kind of, gaming experience, and that can be easily utilized into designing stuff. There are 3 or 4 different levels of designer softwares available. Once someone starts looking into, like, someone has watched this video and he gets intrigued about 3D printing, he has to go back to areas where he can collect information on softwares where they can design stuff. I'll show you a design right now. Okay, I never got any kind of software training to run this kind of a software. This Autodesk 123D design, it is basically kids software. Kids meaning it's like the basic beginner level software. In this kind of a software, from scratch, I have designed this particular model with some help from the designers, of course, because there are minute things in this, like implant and all. But more or less, if I can control this thing, or if I can control the other aspects of this software, I don't think it's very difficult. So when a beginner starts to use this kind of a software, let us say, see, I just introduced a block into this, and now I can change its shape in any different way I want. You know, I can
And
make it.
this software basically gives you the structure in 3D format.
Yes, this gives it. This gives the design in 3D form, as well as you can export it as 3D STL. STL is the basic file which we use in 3D printing.
Many of my viewers are undergraduate students. I want to know that can they dream of doing something in 3D printing at the beginning days, maybe second year, third year? Can they take a project of 3D printing or a research or a small project? Is it feasible in India?
With COVID, there were many changes. Because of COVID, there are multiple designs which are available now for free online, which can be downloaded by the students, and they can modify the designs according to what their needs are, or they can just play around with the design. And if they're interested in such kind of an application. Usually, people who are interested in gaming will be interested in such things, and
I
it
think there
requires
are gaming, everybody likes gaming, and
exactly.
it is a very big platform. And as you are saying, it can those who can play games can think of doing or going into 3D printing. That's really nice. And since you are saying that it has applications in multiple branches, I remember I recently read an article where they have done the 3D printing of the side vented needles, irrigation needles, what is used in endodontics, and they have done the a special test where they check the flow of the irrigant. So even that is coming into the field of endodontics, but it is in a very small way. If I can ask you one question, that which branch may be maximum benefited with 3D printing, which will be that branch?
It's mainly restorative or prosto branch. These are the main two branches which require 3D printing. So this is a 3D printer basically. Most of the stuff you see here is what has been made in 3D printing. I mean, everything is been made in 3D printing. What I'm trying to say is there is orthodontic appliances, aligners which come nowadays. Invisalign, after Invisalign, there are multiple aligners which nowadays everyone is making by themselves in foreign countries. And even in India, I mean, in foreign countries, clinicians have 3D printer in their office and they're making it by themselves by using planning software and everything. In India, you can always do it at your clinic or you can give it to the people who 3D print. So these are clear aligners which are being made by 3D printing in hordes. Like everyone is using it in the foreign countries, especially. Then there is hearing aids. Hearing aids are 3D printed. Crown and bridge, temporary denture base. Now there are FDA approved material for permanent denture bases and permanent teeth also. So before, people used to make dentures in 5 appointments. Now that denture appointment has been reduced to 2 appointments, in which in the first appointment itself, trine is done, completed by the doctor. How do you get the trine? By 3D printing. Patient is sitting, you do intraoral scanner, you make a 3D print of trine denture, you check it, then you send it to the lab, they'll make a final denture by CAD cam and send it to you. That is all digital.
How much time will it take if you are saying that we can do it for the patient in the clinic? I have two questions here. First, what is the cost involved? If somebody thinks of doing a 3D printing, in general, what may be the cost involved, and how much time it may be required if you are thinking of doing a trying denture, whatever you mentioned, in your clinic?
See, as I said, there are different machines, different technologies. The basic two technologies, FDM and laser. In the FDM, it may take about half a day or 1 day. In the laser technology, it may take half of that time because the method is different, the material use is different. It is kind of like a faster method basically. But at the same time, you have to know the application. For a trine denture, you cannot spend so much money and material of resin or laser. For that, you have to go for a cheaper method. It takes some time, but that's up to the clinician who is managing this kind of application. Now, if you see this, this is a skull of 3D printed. This took almost 1 day for us to print. So it's a child's skull basically, bullet injury, and we printed it out of this thing just for knowledge. But it took almost 1 day for us to print this. A surgical case where an adult size of skull with mandible was required. It took us almost 2 or 3 days. Machine is running continuously to finish that print. So
You,
that's how it.
I assume that since we are inventing, still advancing, maybe in future coming down another 5 years, maybe the time may be still reduced, right?
We already have those machines. Again, the problem is they are industrial level of machines. They are not desktop type of machines. The machines you see here, they are desktop type of machines which I have kept in my home at my home office. But in dental laboratories of larger quantities or people who are moving larger quantities, they can afford such kind of 3D printers, even metal printers, which cost more than about 40, 50 lakhs. These kind of printers they will be able to do it within 1 hour. So as the time is reducing, the cost also is increasing. So you have to go for something which is in the mid level, neither too cheap nor too costly. Because the time will come when those machines will become cheaper and available for everyone. By then, all the software glitches will have been removed. So you have to wait until that time. There are multiple cheap machines available which can be kept in your clinic and you can begin 3D printing right away. Only thing is some kind of tinkering is required and you need to learn the basic working of that machine.
Fine.
That's all.
So my friend Dr. Aditya is very much interested in 3D printing and he is doing some project. So he asked me a question which if what basically he wants to know is what are the difficulties currently faced for 3D printing ceramics for dental use? Will it require any other equipment apart from 3D printer?
3D printing basically happens at a temperature of 240, 250 degrees centigrade. So when you go to higher temperatures of 300 or 400, you make something which is more stronger with infusion of materials. Like I have this, I have this mobile stand. This is made by a marble finish type of material. Okay. So also we have filters for the mask. This mask, it was 3D printed. It has a filter inside. So this filter actually was made by carbon infused material. So this kind of material, it has carbon particles infused in the material itself. So it has its advantages of infusion. Whatever the material is infused in that, it has the advantages of that material. At the same time, the temperatures are increased and post processing is required. When you go for something like ceramics, ceramics are centered at temperatures of 2000, 2500, or even 1500 at least. When you even make in CAD CAM milling, when you mill metal or when you mill ceramic zirconia, what happens is the companies are very smart. They will not give you pre-sintered discs. They will give you discs of zirconia. You mill it. After milling, you can put it for sintering. Why? Because after sintering, it becomes too hard for milling machine. At the same time, also it's also the milling burrs which are bad after sintering. Also the finishing, once you sinter, it has a self glaze kind of a thing. So those things are achieved in ceramic only after sintering, or even for metal or titanium. Any of these things, when you have a 3D printer which can print metal or which can do ceramic printing, you always need post processing of centering kind of machines which are required for glazing, even to do shade matching and all these things. You need post processing machines always, but it's very much available nowadays.
Fine. So I have another friend of mine, Dr. Vishwanath. He want to know about planning of orthognathic surgery, how to plan and proceed with the help of a 3D printer.
Let us say this is that case. This model was made from CBCT of the patient. Now a bullet injury patient comes to you, you will not go for CBCT, 3D printing, final surgery. You will just give them the first aid or you do the suturing of the wound. You wait until the healing happens. And then after healing, you start with the reconstruction of that particular. Even in the cancer patients, after you, sometimes what you do is you remove the mandible altogether. At that time, what you need is you need a replacement bone, right? So when you get the CBCT and you have a design, that is the 3D design of that particular patient, you resect the mandible. In the design, you resect the mandible and you apply it in the design itself. Or you can 3D print the design and you do mock surgery on the model itself. Like we have life size mandibles available. If this has a tumor in this place, you can do resection on the mandible and see exactly what dimensions you need, the replacement bone. Let us say you're going for a femur. Femur is a straight bone. This is a curved bone. So when you say you want a curved bone, you can even 3D print the mold of this particular cavity. That mold will give you a cavity like this of the mandible. You can see the cavity inside, where you keep the femur and you make parts of the femur, or you try to contour it according to the area which you have to adapt it to. Even the plates or the screw plates, everything you can attach it there itself before going into the patient. So this is the power of mock surgery. You can reduce the surgery of a patient from 12 hours to 3 or 4 hours. So that is the power of 3D printing.
So you have explained everything to us, starting from the steps, and you have also showed the viewers, the undergraduate students, that they can think of doing 3D printing. But coming down the years, future, what do you think 3D printing will be the maximum impact of it in dentistry? What is your vision?
Digital dentistry is something which we are all looking for in future. Even endodontists have seen they do CBCTs sometimes.
Yeah,
Yes?
nowadays CVCT is used in most of the cases
Yeah.
wherever diagnosis becomes really difficult.
Let us say you do that CBCT and then you can make a transparent model of that particular tooth, and you can measure and verify whatever you want to do before the final work, or after the final work you want to verify what you have done. All these things can be done by 3D printing in endodontics.
Yeah,
In
I do.
orthodontics,
I many of the workshops nowadays also mentions that they have 3D printed, and few of them they say that they have imported it from the foreign countries. Are you saying that we can do that in India too?
I'm already doing it in India.
Oh, great.
So
Yes.
the main reason why I am doing it in India, our work is not basic dentistry. Basically, we are not doing dental workflows every day. What we are doing is the innovation of devices, as you showed in the beginning. 3D printing came as a part of prototyping for us. But at the same time, we are also importing those materials which are required for dentistry on a regular basis, even to make these products. So we are using the same materials to make even maxillofacial processes, even for making mold of maxillofacial processes. Like this one, the one I showed you, it's actually a part of mold. This is a two-piece mold in which we have made silicone prosthesis, kind of silicone skin coverage, basically. So these things, which were previously available only in foreign countries, they are being done by us. We are doing resin printing in transparent resins. So this is basically a condyle of an articulator which we are designing. So we are doing every kind of 3D printing available or known. Whatever is required, India has all the resources, right? We don't need to go to foreign countries.
Thank you, Dr. Abhishek. You have given us all the required information, and the viewers who are watching this podcast, if you need any help with the 3D printing, then please visit Dr. Abhishek's website and his company's website, that is We Invent. They have been really innovating, and as you know that he has so many patents, he is the guy whom you should approach, and I'm sure that he will make the 3D printing super simplified for all of you guys.
Our another website, that is scan2model.com, in which we are actually promoting medical 3D printing at the most economical rate all over in India. So you can ask your viewers to go into that and check out our projects which are already on display, and look into such cases which they can work with us in future at the, you know, because we are not dependent on that particular line of economy. So we are providing it at the most cheapest
So,
rates.
guys, you have your 3D printing guy here, and if you need any help, he is always there for you. Thank you so much for watching this podcast. We'll come again with one more podcast very soon. Bye for now.